Once upon a time, on a block of land where the cattle used to roam and the rain refused to fall, a medical professional and a geology professor decided to build a home. The soil may have been dry, shallow and stony, but they wouldn't be deterred from their dream of turning this into this, a thriving garden wonderland. It's fantastic the changes that gardeners can bring to a landscape. I mean, look at this place. The whole garden is just under ½ hectare, and it's at Geologist near Canberra. And I reckon it's time you met the gardeners. How did you pick the line for your paths?
I don't like straight lines in the landscape. Landscapes aren't like that. So the paths are curved and they just follow the contour of the block.
This is Sue and Brad PILLANS, a couple of unapologetic plant collectors. So how would you describe the garden?
Our garden is a garden of 2 parts. We have our dry garden up the top there, and this is the section we call our rainforest gully. It's green, it's cool, and this is where we collect our water that comes down from the driveway and the overflow of the tank.
Would you say the garden's been designed or has it evolved?
Well, it's a bit of both, really, but it's an evolving garden. When we bought the block, we wanted to just get a feel for the light, the seasons, how the water moved on the block and how best to take advantage of what we're working with, you know. And I think you need to spend time on a block to do that. You can't just come in and do it all at once. I had this vision of establishing a dry rainforest down here where it'd be cool and green in summer and where I'd have the challenge of growing stuff in Canberra that people would say, you can't grow that here.
Does he really like a challenge?
Yes, absolutely. He'll buy plants from very obscure places. Everywhere we go, we bring things back and try and plant them, and some of them are okay, some are not.
With so many plants to look at, it was hard to know where to begin. Of all the acacias you've got here in the garden, I saw this one earlier. And what I like about it is it's perfect habitat because it really is spiky. And this is the sort of plant people need to put in their gardens to attract the little birds, don't they?
Yeah, I agree, Costa. This is Acacia sicutformis. It's a local species to Canberra region. And in fact, the type specimen for this species was described in 1842 by Alan Cunningham from near Lake George, which is just 30 kilometres north of Canberra. And you're right, perfect habitat for birds.
Grevilleas come in so many different shapes and sizes, and this one is no disappointment when it comes to the bees.
Yes, Costa, this is Grevillea aspleniifolia. It naturally occurs in the Sydney Basin in the sandstone there. It gives a lovely open shape, Grevillea, and allows for an understory underneath. And it just brings in all the birds and the bees. It's just a lovely plant.
I was really taken by a cycad with an interesting story. Brad, something tells me that this particular cycad is a little older than the 14 years you've been here.
Yes, Costa, you guessed it. Macrozamia moorei. This and another one in the garden were a very generous gift from a friend 2 years ago. And they were trucked down to our garden from Queensland, where they were harvested. And you can see the quarantine tag there. Yep. Their natural distribution is central inland Queensland. You often see them around Carnarvon Gorge, that area. And a specimen this size would be something like 300 or 400 years old, I would think.
I've noticed quite a few of these rock structures around the garden.
Look, as a geologist, it comes as no surprise that I love rocks. And these columns here are sculptures done by a friend of ours. What I like about his work is that he brings out the interior features of the rock to contrast with the weathered natural exterior. You almost get a liquid feel about the tops of those, so I love them.
But as it turns out, art is not the only thing hidden in rocks.
What do you think of this?
Oh, wow, it's a fossil.
It is indeed.
It's sort of got a bit of a... Actually, that's a bit more like probably the Wallamai, I reckon.
Pretty good, Costa, pretty good guess.
Really?
And this is a fossil from the Jurassic, from near Gulgong in New South Wales.
Wow.
It's about 150 million years old, and this one's called Agathis jurassica, and it's part of the Araucariaceae family, of which the Wallamai pine is part. So when you looked at this and you said, oh, that could be a Wallamai, you were pretty close.
In fact, Brad has planted as many examples of the family as he can. There's a hoop pine, bunya pine, a Norfolk Island pine, and of course a Wallamai pine.
My interests in geology are understanding how the Australian landscape came to be, and that includes understanding the history of not only the rocks, but the soils, the rivers, and the plants. So I'm looking at the development of our Australian environment.
And if their list of plants is anything to go by, they're trying to pack as much of the Australian environment into their block as they can. Looking at this list you've made here, like, there must be 80 acacias, there's callistemons, eucalyptus. I mean, you've got a lot of everything in the garden. You guys are pretty into plants.
We are.
Is it a condition?
An addiction.
An addiction.
Yeah. If we were stamp collectors, then that would be the stamp collection.
All I can say is this is one stamp collection I'd love to call my own.